Hello and welcome to the Friday Wrap for October 18th. It was another quiet week in Burr Ridge with events, but some of our businesses are actually really booming, which I'll tell you about in a minute. The Plan Commission and the Village Board meetings were held on Monday, and the Police Pension Board met on Tuesday. We had a new police officer, Michael Essig, was sworn in at the board meeting, and there were 16 items on the agenda, 14 of which were on the consent agenda. One was postponed before discussion started, and the consideration of the space needs recommendation for the renovation of the Village Hall was postponed with considerable questions and discussion about that topic. The meeting lasted almost an hour. I have a confession to make. Knowing that there was only one rather minor topic on the agenda, I decided to take a night off on Monday to work on a book that I'm writing. That was until I realized it was a perfect night for me to learn and research on behalf of the village instead. I knew that Willowbrook's board meeting met at 6:30 and on the same night as ours, and that this would be a kind of a rare opportunity for me to attend one of theirs. So to see if I can glean any ideas. As I walked in, I was greeted warmly and introduced to those board members that I didn't already know. It was just a great meeting overall. But here are some of my observations and some of the lessons that I learned from our neighbors next door. Mayor Frank Trilla called the meeting to order right on time and asked the village clerk to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. One thing that was interesting was that there were no residents in the audience as they went through the consent agenda and, of course, voted to approve that as a group or in one block. The village planner then addressed the board in a very professional manner, and after her presentation, the board accepted her recommendations on variances on the Willowbrook Center Parkway. And then Police Chief Mark Sheldon, another good friend of mine, revisited their annual DEA task force agreement and also educated the board, as well as me, on the revenue that it could expect to be receiving from forfeited assets that were involved in crimes in the past. Also discussed was a need for the village water tower tanks, to be had some work done on them for refurbishing, refinishing, to the tune of like $1 million, as well as to replace some underground storage tanks and the future need for other work. And there were also some brief committee meeting reports as well. The meeting took 25 minutes. Now this was able to be accomplished only because they worked together as a team, and the board members contacted and researched the topic with the village administrator ahead of the time, before the meeting, rather than having long, drawn-out debates at the actual board meeting itself. In addition, instead of taking roll call votes on all topics, after some discussion, they would do something called call for previous roll call. Then they would confirm that there are no concerns or objections. And having none, the mayor would actually turn to the side and say, are there any objections to my left or right? The motion passes, and then they move on. It was very efficient. But there's two other things that I admired were the Pledge of Allegiance inscription that was proudly displayed on the back wall, and also there was a wall hanging right by the door of a large dollar bill with pieces, with cut into pieces under the caption that read, "Where do your property taxes go?" I thought that was kind of neat because we all need to learn that. I've learned some great ideas also from other mayors at Willowbrook and also Lake Geneva, which I'll share at a later time. But so much for taking the night off. I'd also want to spotlight one of our thriving businesses in town. This week, I also had an incredible visit at one of our thriving manufacturing companies called Fusion. They're located in High Grove Park off of Madison Street. They are a contract manufacturer, mostly of high-tech components, doing business from New Jersey to Korea and everywhere in between. They've even been featured in some numerous magazines for their rapid growth, their tremendous success, and for their overall health and safety-conscious work environment. I hope to spotlight them more in a future wrap. But I have to take some time first to assemble all the pictures I took and to summarize some of the leadership principles that I learned from their founder, Craig Zabiris. Now, there's also I'd like to tell you about kind of a neat little thing that's going on in the village. There are two eighth graders from Gower Middle School who are on a mission of their own to help the greater Chicagoland community by having some drop-off locations for canned goods and toys. Their mission really is to make a difference. They will be the drop-off points will be at the Gower West and Gower Middle School main offices, as well as at the Village Hall. And here is their website for more information on how that you can help, which is actually in the document that you'll see with this email. On a personal note, at church on Sunday, I was blessed to meet a Catholic bishop, Bishop Burns of Juneau, Alaska, which happened to be one of the capital cities that I visited just last year on my 50 Capitals trip. Now, adding to the coincidence was that the bishop was also born and raised in Pennsylvania. Serendipity is alive and well. Hope you make it a great week. Now remember that Burr Ridge is a very special place to live, work, dine, and shop. Spread the word.